Hello, welcome to another episode of the Front End Horse live stream. My name is Alex Trost. I am your host, and today we are learning about noise in generative art, and I am so excited to welcome back, I believe, and I might be counting wrong, but for the fourth time, George Francis coming back to the stream. I don't know how I managed to keep getting you, George. You're too kind. You need to learn how to say no to things in your life, because
I love it.
I'm so glad. We love having you. The chat is already going crazy. I love to see it. Amit says, apologies in advance. I can't stay for the whole stream. You can rest assured I'll watch later. What do we have to do wrong?
Nice.
B Prevail says, what do we have to do wrong to make you not come back? Fantastic people. I see Prince. I see Ben. Amit. Brent is here. Corey. V Prevails. Jacob, just so many wonderful people. Steph, Adrian, thank you so much for being here. You bring everyone here, George, and we're all just delighted to have you.
I'm glad to be
Waffy's here. Awesome. So, do you want to introduce yourself to the few people who might not know who you are?
Yeah. So my name's George. I'm a sort of a developer, and I write stuff, and I'm also a generative artist. So I make art with the computer in the browser a lot. And yeah, I like things with googly eyes on, and sort of things that just exist because they want to. And today I'm gonna teach you some stuff about generative art, specifically how we can use something called noise to make art that feels kind of natural and hopefully very satisfying.
Awesome. I think that's great. Yeah, Prince loves stopping by for these lovely folks. Ben says, George, I think we may still have to finalize you coming onto Semantics, as if you don't have enough streams to guest on. But yeah, that'd be fantastic. So I just dropped George's website. You have fantastic articles on here. I am not saying that lightly. I think on your Twitter, you show off some of the patterns that you just made only in your last blog post. Like, this is just from the last blog post. Some of the experiments that you did with Voronoi tessellations. I love your work. I love the art that you create. I love the way you break it down. Your demos are wonderful. But I think one of my favorite things about your stuff, George, and I'm just here to flatter you. So it's going to be 2 hours of flattery.
All right.
Is your color palettes. Your color palettes, and I think the chat can kind of vouch, like these are all really cool, but like, you know, even this random smattering of polka dots is elevated by just how satisfying that, like, you just have a great eye for color. And I know we've talked about this before, where like you will stare at a color and try to get the right green for hours. I know this site took you a while just to like nail down what green you wanted to have exactly.
It really did.
But it shows like your attention to detail. I love this one. It's so much fun.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, it's good to do.
This one. Like this is just an excellent demo. I won't get into what this is. We talked about Voronoi last time you were on, but like this is such a nice demo to show how the relaxing function is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you've the colors of Supreme. Just give me your wisdom. Yeah, I'm inviting him back on, Prince, just so I can get like decent at picking a good purple or a good orange, because I feel like I just don't. So
you just gotta stare at it for 6 days and get like really close to your
and then put googly eyes on it, right? Like now
it's
it's a creature. Now it exists. Yeah, so we're talking about noise today. If people haven't tuned in previously, it's we've talked about, I think, Voronoi like formulas and things like that. We've done a couple streams on generative art, but it turns out there's more things to learn. So you're coming on today to teach us specifically about noise. We've got it as the first step. What is noise? And I know that this is you said before, this is a tough thing to just nail into like one sentence, because noise, texture, like essentially we're kind of making something like this, right? Like we're using
Kind of.
randomness in a sense, or am I totally off base?
We're actually, it kind of seems random, but actually it's not random at all. It's kind of like pseudo random. It's a way. So noise to me is a way of getting pseudo random numbers that are self similar. So if
Self
say
similar.
I yeah, so if I pick, say I had like a jar, and in that jar was like random numbers, and I picked one, and it was like zero point 0.1, and then I picked another one. Chances are the next one that I pick is going to be like 0.11, and then the next one I pick could be like 0.12, right? So they're all going to be quite similar in the order that I pick them. And the cool thing about that is versus like pure randomness is that when applied to art, you can get like really beautiful textures or like similar rotations on things and have things flow in the way that like water might or something like that. And it's just a really, really handy technique for us to know about, I think.
Got it. So just to understand this jar thing a little better, that
Yeah.
jar example wasn't completely random. It was random through noise essentially. So
Yeah, right.
I could pick
Yeah.
up something where it's like point 0.1, but if it was truly random, it like I could go from like picking the number 1 out to picking the number 5,333 to picking out the
Yeah,
number
yeah, totally.
12, right? Like it's just gonna be all over the
Yeah, yeah,
map.
yeah.
But through
Yeah,
noise, it's almost like it's only going to go up or down by a little bit
right.
instead of jumping
Yeah,
completely across the map. So
totally. Yeah,
okay,
that's exactly it. Yeah, and
cool.
that is really that's the essence of noise. When we want to grab a value from a noise function, we pass it in like a moment in time, and that moment in time always will return the same. Usually, will return the same value to us essentially. So if we step through time slowly, we get very slow gradation of random values, right? But if we step through quickly, they'll be like very, very random. So
Okay,
the easiest way
cool.
probably to demonstrate it is to
Get into it.
write a bit of code, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Um,
All right. So
cool.
for the chat, we've got this template for you. So if you want to follow along, that will allow you to kind of create your own. Um, yeah, like you see, like if you use that template, it creates it under your account. So you can go ahead and mess with it to your heart's content. You're not going to mess with anything that we have going on. So yeah, we've got our little
Yeah, imagine
template.
if it did though. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be so
That'd be
fun
a
if
trip.
everyone could break everyone else's code fence.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
Cool.
Cool. So are we in there? You can see it. If I
Yeah,
draw
I'm
like
I'm in your collab one, so we can work inside this one.
cool. Do you see uh any changes? Like a yeah, there you go. You do.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I've only got one screen, so I could only see
I
what's happening
gotcha.
on my
Well,
screen.
you can
You're
walk
like a
me
ghost
through
just floating around.
whatever we're typing. So,
Oh yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So what I want to do here is plot a line of noise values in just like a really traditional kind of line chart just to show how the self-similar kind of randomness thing works.
okay.
So so we're going to pick a certain amount of points, equally spaced points across the canvas, and we're going to draw a line through them. So to start off, we can say how many points do we want to do? And say like number of points can be like 100, say, and then we can say point step is width divided by how many points we want. So
Got it.
each of the points will be equally spaced, I guess, and then we can do a little for loop and say for x equals 0, x is less than the width of our canvas, so SVG view box, and then we're going to increment x by point step each time. I mean, yeah, that should be fine. And just to test that out, if we draw a little circle, um, height divided by 2, hopefully we should see some circles plotted along the middle of the
Yeah,
canvas. Cool. They're
definitely
a
see
little bit
those.
big. I made them a bit smaller. I made them like 1.
And right now they're all going to come in at the same spot because of we have the center X, center Y. So real quick for people
Exactly.
who weren't here for the last one,
Yeah.
SVG.js is what
Yeah.
you like to use to
Yeah.
create your SVGs. You want to like just explain it real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So SVG.js is like just a library that makes scripting SVG a lot quicker. If you were to do it with just JavaScript, it gets very, very verbose, and there's a lot of repetition. So it's not giving you anything that SVG doesn't have really natively, but it's just kind of almost like syntactic sugar or whatever on top of like that, and it just makes it easier
It's
to
just
dynamically
it's just
create
way better
things.
than doing like SVG and then having like to do the template literal stuff, right? Like that would be a
Yeah,
pain compared to this
yeah,
really handy syntax for just chaining
totally.
functions.
Yeah, or doing like document.create element namespace rect, and then you
Right.
have to remember the namespace, and no one knows the namespace, and you have to Google it every single time.
Right.
It's like it's not the best really. So I
Cool.
like to use this one because it's just quicker, really,
Yeah.
and it's quite human readable, which I really love for demos because it's like where Canvas you might have like arc, and it's like, well, just call it a circle. Like it's just easier. It's just easier for folks that are kind of new to this stuff. So yeah, I tend to use it for demos and whatnot a lot,
Nice.
and for big art stuff as well. Yeah. So cool. So we've got our circles. What I might do is just make like a y variable, just so we can keep track of it, and then
Cool.
set that as y. That's just so they're all going in the middle of the canvas right now. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is say we're going to create a Simplex Noise instance. And to do that, we can do simplex equals, I think it's new Simplex Noise. I can't remember now. I
It's like it
think it's
might be.
that. Yeah, I feel like it is.
Didn't
Yeah, I
break,
think
so
so.
we're good.
Cool. Didn't break. That's good. And so this simplex is a function, and we pass in two variables, two parameters to it, and that is going to be our point in time, essentially. So what we're going to do to kind of define that is we can have a new variable, and we can call it time,
Oh, so we actually
and
are
we
going
can
to use
set.
time. Got it.
Yeah, we're just going to
I
call
thought it
it
was going to be
time.
the index, but okay, cool.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. There's a
Cool.
reason why the index doesn't quite work. So we've got our time variable, and then for each little circle, each step in our loop, we want to move through time a little bit. So we can say time increment by quite a small value, say 0.
Okay.
0.01 should be okay. And then that's awesome. So what we can do is we can now use our time variable to give us a kind of like natural self-similar random value. And we can get that value by saying const noise equals simplex dot noise 2D. Don't worry too much about the 2D thing. And then we
Okay.
just pass in time twice. In like P5 and stuff, you can just pass in one parameter. So all we really care about is this one time variable. But for some reason with this library, you can only pass in two arguments, but it doesn't. It's pretty irrelevant. Um, for our purposes, we're
Cool.
just giving it. We're just letting simplex noise know what time it is, basically. And so this noise variable, if we log it, actually I'm not going to log it because it might break the thing. It always returns a value between -1 and 1, right? Which is cool, but not particularly helpful for us. So we want to map this value to a more helpful range, and for that we're going to use the map function from my generative utilities library.
Nice. Did we import that already?
Uh,
Yep, there it is.
yeah, it's up the top. Yeah, you can check that out on GitHub. It's on my profile, and
Yeah.
it's just a handy little collection of functions that I use a lot for generative stuff that you don't really want to always be rewriting for every single project and things like that. So I've just put them all in one place so they're all there.
Love it.
Um,
Question from Ben about the simplex noise. It's a good question.
yeah,
Is the first time like X and the second time Y? Is that
yeah, you could look at it like that.
got it?
But
And Leaf
yeah,
says,
it
yeah.
is.
Awesome.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
going
right on.
diagonally basically. Cool.
Yeah, but we're only going on one. We only
For
really care
for
about one
for now we're
axis
just
right
doing
now.
the
So
the
I'm
one
just
dimensional.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it in a really helpful note when trying to explain it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. So we've got our value somewhere between -1 and 1 for each step. So we can map that. We can redefine y and say y is map noise, which is usually between -1 and 1. And we can say like height divided by t minus 50 and height divided by t plus 50. So our y value is going to be in the center of the canvas minus a certain amount or plus a certain amount. And if I just get rid of that other y, hopefully we should see some circles that are kind of...
Whoa.
There we go.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I
right.
see what you mean where it's so that shape is random, but each point
Yeah,
isn't just like it's got
exactly.
this smooth thing. So the map thing, we kind of can you walk me through that real quick? Because this like
Yeah,
I'm yeah, like these two kind of feel magical right now.
yeah, cool.
To me,
Yeah,
if that's cool, if we can break these down.
yeah, yeah. Well, this simplex dot noise TD to me is like I don't understand the
It's like a
algorithm that goes
black
behind that.
magic
It's
box in there. It's just like you just know how to
yeah,
use it, and then inside
right.
is some kind of complex algorithm that someone that like
Yeah,
Euclid or Pythagoras figured out 10,000 years ago, and
yes,
we've just kind of been using ever since. And it just
yeah.
gives
Well,
us
cool.
noise,
Yeah,
or
well, cool fact. Sorry about noise. Is it is invented when Tron was first made by a dude called Ken Perlin. So we have something called Perlin noise, which is kind of the original noise, and
I've
he
heard
was
of
like a
that.
visual
Yeah,
effects.
Ken.
Yeah, he was
So
like a
so
visual
Perlin
effects
noise
guy.
comes from a person who worked on Tron.
Yeah, comes from
That's
Tron. Yeah,
wild.
yeah. I think I'm pretty sure he invented it when he was working on Tron. So yeah. So Perlin noise is the one that you get in processing, which is kind of like the MP5, which is kind of like one of the classic ones. We're using Simplex Noise, which is basically Perlin noise but faster, and with less artifacts. But I mean, that's whatever. It's basically the same thing.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, I've heard of Perlin noise. I mean, Ken Perlin doesn't mean anything to me, so it's just you hear these random name things. Um,
Ooh. Yeah.
that's all good. But here, let me see. Shout out. Who can I? Let's see if Nightbot's still around. Nightbot's still alive. George says he's my favorite. Sorry, George says. Anthony says these are my favorite streams. Can we have George on once a week? I'm all for it. I mean,
Ah.
no complaints
I
here whatsoever.
love it as well. Mm.
And Adam Kuhn says, fun fact:
Hey,
Simplex
Adam.
Noise is named after. I should really
I
read
just took
the
a peek
entire
at that.
message before I commit to speaking it
I
out
was like, is
loud.
he gonna do it? I don't know.
Apparently, doesn't mean anything to me. It's just noise. Cool. Okay, so this is just kind of this black box where we're passing in values, and it's
Yep,
go and understanding what we get out is the key. And you said it's between -1 and 1.
exactly.
So that's the
Yep,
key there. And then
yep.
map. This part is a bit magical to me, but this one
Sure.
is more known. We kind of you understand how this one works because it's your function.
Yeah, yeah, it would be a bit slightly concerning if I didn't know the guts of this one. But so what we're doing is we're giving map a value. So that's our noise value here.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're telling map that hey, this value it usually sits within the range of -1 and 1, and that's these two first arguments we're passing here. And
Okay.
then what we're saying is what I'd like it to be is somewhere between height divided by t minus 50, so in the middle of the canvas minus 50 units, and the middle of the canvas plus 50 units. And so
Got
it
it.
takes that value and it remaps it to a completely different range, which is a
Cool.
little bit more useful for us,
Cool.
basically.
Yeah, I think
So I
GSAP
could,
has a map function too, right? So it's the same sort of thing, and
yeah,
I think Ben is saying it right. It interpolates a value from one range to another range. So like instead of like between 0 to 1, if we had to go to RGB, we would go between 0 and 255, and we would use a map function to
yeah,
take like zero point 0.7 and map it to an RGB value. Is that
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
cool?
you could use it for that. For our case, we could just times noise by 50, and
Got it.
it would still be right. But like, I'm using it in this case because I just prefer it. I find it a
Cool.
little bit nicer.
And I think that
To
answers
use it like
Amit's
that.
question. And Adam, it's fine. I appreciate you very much. Uh,
Yeah,
cool. Awesome. Okay, so
cool,
I am understanding this now. We get
nice.
some randomized value, but not completely random. a simplex
Yeah.
random value from that between -1 and 1, and then we map it to the size of our artboard that we're looking for, basically. And then we plot that point, and it
Yeah.
creates this cool curve.
Yeah, exactly. So I mentioned earlier that when we get simplex noise values, we pass in a point in time. So when we're getting our values here, all of the points in time that we're grabbing that value from are very close together, which results in a really smooth curve, right? But if we made the time step move much faster, say 0.1,
Ah.
we should see a much more jagged kind of shape, if you will.
Whoa, that was way more
Yeah,
jagged than I
so
expected.
yeah, this might be easier to plot if we do it as like a line. So we can say what we can say is we can just create a new points array, which is just an empty array, and then we can push points.push like x y like that, and then I think what we can do is we can do svg.polyline points and draw
Oh.
like a line through all of the points. I hope I've done that from memory. It might not work. Okay, cool. Yeah.
We just need to remove the fill.
Yeah, and then we can say fill
That's a
none.
really
It's kind of
clever solution there.
it's quite cool though. Still,
Yeah, I think it needs a stroke.
you got it. Dot stroke. Say just a regular kind of plain stroke. There we go.
Really
Cool.
cool. Now it's like a
Yeah. Right.
cardiogram or whatever. That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we make that time step even higher, like 1, it should start to go a little bit all over the place. Yeah, you can see this
Yeah.
real kind of jagged edge, but then if we bring it right down, so 0.00001 or whatever, you should see a really smooth
Very smooth.
or barely noticeable curve, because all of the values that we're picking out are really close together
Got it.
in the time, essentially. And that's like this is noise. This is how it works. You just get a random value from a point in time, and that's kind of the main thing to understand about it.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a good foundation there.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to explore here before we move on to some other stuff.
We need to explore Ben Myers saying, "Suddenly we have an Arctic Monkeys album cover." It's really
Oh, right. We can yeah, I think I know the one. So if we looped, oh no, that's a different album cover. But if we looped over and we drew this a bunch of times,
this one right here.
yeah,
it's
right.
Bit
That's pretty
too
cool,
smooth and perfect, but yeah, pretty close.
Well, you could use 2 layers of noise to do something like that, but we weren't worried.
You've just inspired his next blog post, Ben. Well done.
One thing we could do just to kind of quickly show you how you could create some simple art with this is put all of that code we just wrote in a loop and randomize some of the values to kind of like stack loads on top of each other, just to see how like you can use this to make some really quick art kind of thing. So if we did like for I is less than, I don't know how many iterations, say 8, I plus plus, and then we just take all of this code and pop it in the loop. And I think we might need to do some more randomization, but we'll see. Yeah, because right now we're always starting at the same point in time. So all of our values are always going to be exactly the same because it's pseudo random numbers. So if we start at the same point in time, every point that we pick will always be exactly the same. So we need to randomize our start point.
So you can seed with Simplex Noise. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. It's got like a seed basically.
Got it.
And so yeah, given the same start point and step, you'll always get
them
back the exact same values. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That's handy to know.
Yeah, so if I import, I'm just going to import random from my generative utilities library, which is just kind of like math.random, but a little bit more flexible. And then we can use that to set time to a random value between, I don't know, 0 and 1,000. And then hopefully all of our lines should look a little bit different. Yeah, and it's just kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's, yeah, if you could do like a lot more of them, maybe do like 48.
But
like it's multiples of, yeah.
It's interesting to me if we go, well, actually, no, I mean, even this, you start to see the patterns that emerge where like there's a bunch, like there's pretty much
Yeah.
a solid line straight through the middle,
Yeah.
and there's a line that's kind of formed here, right? Like a lot of them go to.
Yeah.
Why is it finding those patterns? Like I would. Is it
I
just
don't
the way that
know.
simplex works? It's just the way that goes that it's
Yeah,
gonna.
maybe it's more likely to choose points closer to the center of the range, so 0, and then the I don't actually know, I'm just theorizing, and then
Yeah, it's all
it's
good.
less likely to pick the kind of like the further away values, which is kind of what it looks like a little bit to me, but
Right.
that's very much like just kind of yeah, I
Yeah, it's
guess
very
I don't
dense
know
in there,
whether
and
that's
but
actually
like
what it does.
none of them are starting and stopping here, right? Like it's interesting that they start and stop here, and they start and stop here,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
there's no line that like comes up to here, tapers off, and then goes back down. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's really weird. It's really cool though. Like it's this kind of thing you can really dive deep and find some really cool weird patterns and things like that,
Yeah, so
which is
cool.
awesome. That's why I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So here's some simple art that we can make with, in 32 lines of code. So
Yeah.
not too crazy. And a lot of that is just doing SVG stuff. So it's quite chill. And this is how now we know how noise works in one dimension. It might be quite fun to kind of do it in two, I think,
Yeah.
if
So
that sounds good.
okay, so this is okay. So this to me seems two-dimensional, but it's one dimension because we're only affecting the y-axis, and so x
Yeah,
is going to keep
yeah,
going, and we're only affecting the y. Got it. Okay, so yeah,
yeah.
let's hop over to two. I'm
Cool.
excited. Tate
I'm gonna
Modern, here
delete
we come.
everything.
I'm not sure I know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Tate.
yeah.
What's Tate Modern?
It's a big it's a big gallery in London.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool. It's a good place.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's really cool. So I'm just having a little think about how we're gonna do this. So yeah, okay, I've got it. I think that's all good. So let's start off by saying time x is. We're going to randomize this like before. So a random value between 0 and 1,000.
Cool.
And then we're going to say time
Grabbing.
y is a random value
Okay.
between 0 and 1,000, which is, yep, that's all good.
I still have to get used to not because I always have to do the like, all right,
Not.
0. Yeah.
Oh, 0. Right, right. Yeah, sorry,
Not
sorry.
your fault at all. Don't sweat it. It's just
Between 0 and
it's
1,000.
all good. I'll whisper that translation just 0 for anyone out there that needs it. Yeah.
Cool. And I'm going to make a really simple animation loop. So gonna just create a call it draw, and we'll put that in a self-invoking function because I can't be bothered to call it again. And then say press animation frame
Cool.
draw.
So
So
we're using the web
um,
API for request animation frame.
that's it. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone in the chat is familiar with that, but it's just setting up a loop that runs really, really fast, sort of like 16 times a second or something like that. I can't remember exactly. It depends on the refresh rate of the screen, but
It's like
usually it should be
I
around
think we
about
talked
that.
about this the other day. Programming is just ones and aughts. Nice stuff. um, we talked about it. I think yesterday in the chat with Alithia, where depends on
Oh,
the
cool.
hertz of the screen. And chat, correct us if
Yeah,
I'm wrong because I might be saying it wrong. We learned it from chat. So some screens are
nice.
144 hertz, some are 60 hertz, and that's where you get the
Yeah,
60 frames or the yeah.
yeah. Mine is 8.
8 hertz,
it's
nice.
it's not very
Only
good. No, I
only
don't know
hurts a
what it
little.
is.
Cool. So
I don't know what it
we're
is.
gonna run our draw function in like we're gonna do our drawing in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So the first thing we want to do every animation frame, we just want to clear our SVG because I don't want
Okay.
to be putting elements in an SVG and stacking that up in the DOM, 16 times a second because
Right.
something will definitely break.
Yeah.
And so within this loop,
And that's how streams end. That's how that's how the stream goes
exactly,
down.
I'm I'm having to be really, really careful in the stream not to do that.
Yeah.
It's quite easily done when you're doing this kind of thing. So cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly like we did before. Remember, we incremented our time variable by 0.001. This time we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to increment time x by the same, say 0.01, and time y plus equals 0.01.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're stepping through time on in 2 dimensions, so the x and the y. We're walking through, and we're just hanging out, just walking through. That's all we're doing right now, which is cool. I like it. And I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna call this function until we've got it filled out because I don't want to break anything. Awesome.
Cool.
So just in the same way as before, where we said we define a noise variable, we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to say noise x equals simplex dot noise 2d, and we're going to pass in time x and time y like this.
Cool.
Oh no, sorry, we're going to pass in time x twice because it's just we're only interested in this axis. There's another way of
So
doing
we're getting the
this.
noise x, so we're passing it time x
Yeah,
twice. So do
you
you
can.
pretty much
Yeah.
always pass it the same variable twice? No, just
No,
for
not
now.
always.
Cool.
We're gonna get into
We'll
not
get
doing
there.
that
Cool.
shortly. But for now, we're gonna just hang out like this because it's a little bit easier, I find.
Cool.
Which is cool, especially when you're dealing with, hey, I want to move you on your x-axis and your y-axis for like animation. For my brain, it works easier to do it this way. But we're also going to look at how you do it another way shortly, which
Awesome.
is going to be really cool. So we've got our noise x, and now we can do exactly the same thing for y, which is good. Hello. Where have you gone? There we go. Time x. Time y. So we've just got the same thing basically happening twice. And now we can say const for our x. So what basically, just to give some context, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a circle and we're going to put it on our canvas on our screen, and we're going to have it move around our screen. We're going to have it kind of like wander around in a way that's completely random and unpredictable. So we don't, rather than defining like keyframes or whatever, or GSAP and saying, hey, I want you to tween over there and over there, we're going to actually have it just fully wander based on like a stream of self-similar numbers.
So it's going to be just a
cool.
dot moving around the
Yeah.
screen kind of thing. Okay, cool.
It's much cooler than you think. It's cooler than you think it's going to be. I think it looks nice. So yeah. So the first
I think chat will be the judge of how cool this is. So let's see it, George, and then we'll judge.
All right.
Hey, Mike, good to see you.
So yeah. So for our x variable, we're going to say context equals map, and we're going to map in just the same way as we did before. So noise x, and that's going to be usually it's going to be -1, 1. But then we want it to be somewhere between 0, 0, and the width of our canvas.
Cool.
So we're telling our little circle that you can hang out anywhere as long as it's within the view box.
You can stay within the playground. You can stay within your canvas.
Exactly.
Here. Got it.
Yeah. And then y is just the same, but somewhere between 0 and the height.
Cool.
Awesome. What we can do now is we can say, I've been doing a lot of canvas. It's not context. It's svg.circle 8, and we can say x, y, which is all good. And we won't see anything just yet because we haven't called draw. So if we just call draw, we should hopefully start to see a little circle buzzing around our screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And it's like running around. It's going a little bit fast. I'm just going to chill it out a little bit. It's getting a little bit crazy right now. There we go. And you can see it kind of just drifting around of its own accord, which is super cool, I think. Just having something move in this way is really awesome, in my opinion.
That's super cool.
And that's how you can use it. And yeah.
It feels... Yeah, like it feels like someone's done this. I don't know if chat gets what I'm saying, but like it feels like someone's going in, like the swoops and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
feel like
totally.
Someone's designed these. Yeah, like it feels human-ish in a weird dot kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah.
What Corey just said, it feels manually animated. Like these movements. If you told me someone was on the other end moving their mouse around, I would believe you.
Yeah, this is why it's so interesting. It's random numbers that are like so rooted in and look so like natural to us. It's like watching a fly in a jar or whatever. Like when I
Yeah,
look at
it's
this,
mesmerizing.
that's kind of
I've
like
just been
what it looks
staring at
like.
it. It's really funny.
Yeah, and it's so boring. It's a circle on a
This
white
is-
page, right?
I
Like
like what I
it's
like,
like that
George.
is. I know, right? I love it as well.
You
It's
told me
like
it would be
in
cool, and I think
reality,
it's
it's
cool.
it's
Yeah,
cool. It's visually, it's very boring, but it's the motion that
yeah.
makes it something.
It's like that uncanny valley kind of thing with like people's faces, but with like movement. You're like, this is
Yeah,
all just computer
yeah,
generated. This is kind of
yeah.
freaky.
I-
Yeah.
It's pretty weird, isn't it? So this is,
Circle
I mean, this
noise.
is awesome. But if we don't clear the canvas, you can get some really cool effects going on as well. So if I just briefly
Ah.
comment out that clear, we can trace
All
its
right. Bye,
path.
chat. Bye. No,
Yeah,
okay, cool. We're good. Whoa.
but then you can see it's kind of like someone drawing or whatever,
But you see how
drawing a
it
shape.
went back on itself there?
Yeah,
It's like writing in this. That's
I'm gonna clear
yeah.
it again before.
Like
Yeah,
when I hear noise, I would assume it just to go like random, complete all over the place. But because it's this specific kind of noise, and it's not truly random. It's randomish. I don't know, but it
sorry.
falls into certain
Oh,
patterns,
sorry.
and it's what's up?
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
your
sorry.
computer dying?
My computer genuinely did actually die for a moment. I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
it's all
your
over.
video quality froze up and everything. That's so funny.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
My computer's not.
Leaf Pixel
It's
says
struggling.
we're all cats and this is our laser pointer. Yeah. I think people at home are smacking
Cool.
their monitors.
Yeah,
So cool.
nice. Yeah, it's fun, right? So this is how you can use it to do like motion, um, which is cool. It's a really fun thing. Loads of ways you can experiment with this. Like
Yeah.
literally, you can
And
take
the
this and
mouse
do so
simulator
much.
idea from Steve was a good one. Yeah, it feels like if you put a little
Yeah,
mouse
totally.
SCG on that would feel realistic. That's cool.
Yeah, we could do a really annoying screensaver where it's like a fly on the screen.
The
Try and
Windows
get rid of it
pipes,
or
just
something.
recreate that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's animation with it. It's quite a simple example, but
And like
I
no
think
green sock, just using request animate. Like I think that's something cool that I kind of want to point out that you're not
yeah.
really using an animation library. You're just using
No.
request animation frame, which I don't think of as an animation library, but it's kind of acting that way here, right? Like you're just setting a
Yeah.
different point, and you're
Yeah.
looping, and yeah, that's wild.
And just a few
Don't,
values and you get this cool mission.
Adam says, "Don't tell Cassie that we're not using green sock."
Yes, definitely not. Oh, you know what we could do actually? Just one more thing. Rather than moving it on its X and Y axis, we could just put it in the middle and have it kind of like go like this,
I don't know
which
what
might
that
be
is,
quite
but I want
funny.
it. Let's do it.
Go like this.
Well,
Yeah, okay,
uh,
let's make it big.
chat, we're doing this. We are all in. Circle
All
48.
right, let's
Is that
say, oh,
making?
and we want to put it in, don't see, right in the middle of the canvas, like this.
Steve wants to make the
Can you
hardest
see
game
that?
of
Okay.
Pong with it.
Probably make it a little bit bigger. Um, so yeah, does that look all right for you?
Uh, I
Can you
mean,
see
it's a
it?
cert.
Is it? It's just a circle.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, that's it. It should
Okay.
just be a
I
circle.
mean, it's a
So
perfect
now
circle. I think you're nailing it. If
it
that's
is. It's very
does that look
perfectly
good for you?
rendered.
Uh
Good on.
huh.
I love
Is
it.
it
I
is it
think
supposed
that's
to do
it.
something?
I'm done. Yeah, it's gonna do it
Okay.
now. So if we, so rather than moving it around, we want to scale it. Um,
Based on the
it's
noise.
like it based on the noise. So I'm just going to use one for now. So I'm just going to get rid of that
Makes
y
sense.
variable for now and just use x. And now we're going to change x to scale. And we're going to say make scale this object somewhere between half of its normal size and
one.
all of its normal size,
Clever.
essentially. And then we can say dot scale, and then I think for this one, it's just going to kind of pulse a little bit, which should hopefully look quite satisfying. Yeah, which is quite cool, right? I think what we could actually do is we could do scale X and scale Y, and change that to scale X, and so I think this would look a little bit cooler.
I bet
Y.
I bet if you upped the time frame, or if you increase the time, it feels like it would mimic a talking thing pretty good. Like I don't know if you've seen like those animations or like those like characters in games where like it's a dot, and as it talks it goes it kind of like increases and decreases. Kind of feels like it might
Totally
feel like that. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like we can't do scale X and scale Y. Maybe we can do scale and then pass like scale X, scale Y like that. I don't know that this is a thing that you can even actually do. I just guessed it, really.
Oh, there you go.
Is it doing so? There we go.
It sure is.
Yeah. So that's quite fun. And then we can make it go a little bit faster, like you say, and just kind of bring those up and see what it does.
That's gonna go wild.
Yeah, but right, I can totally
That's
see
cool.
how that looks then a little bit like kind of like a mouth or something.
Both scales use
cool.
the same.
Yeah.
I got it. Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Well, that's a little simple animation anyway. So I think we can take it now and see, like, we can move on to doing simplex noise or noise grids, which are really, really, really handy things. So I'm going to just get rid of this code before it destroys my computer. Is good.
So
do a quick save.
Is this going to be a similar thing where like we're going to loop through the rows and the columns, and we got like the time X and the time Y, and so it's going to like do something basically awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Like the concepts are starting to click, right? Because like you showed that one to us, and that kind of made sense with us going on both dimensions. And now, as we go through, we'll be able to, in the same way that we did with the first plotting, we'll kind of do that on both axes, and then maybe it'll be like a color and a size or something like that. I don't know. I'm excited.
There's loads of things we can do. Yeah, I've got an idea for what we can do anyway. So to start this off, we want to make like a grid of like columns and rows. So you end up with, you know, a number of cells, right? Just for our demo, we're going to do it like that. So I think we can start off by saying like number of columns. We're going to want, I don't know, say 24. We want, say, 24 rows. And then we can say column size is width divided by how many columns we have. Row size is height divided by rows that we want. Is that all good so far? Kind of all good with that?
Yeah, it makes sense. That's the width.
Cool.
And we're splitting up by the columns and the rows. Looks good. I approve.
Nice. Awesome. And now what we're going to do is we're going to leap through, and we're going to pop to the first row, and then we're going to draw along all the cells for the x-axis, and then we're going to jump down to the next row, and we're going to draw all of the cells, and we're going to kind of go like that until we've got a whole grid. So to do that, we can say for let y equals 0, y is less than height, y plus equals the row size. So that's the order, and then we can say the same thing for the x-axis. X is less than width, x plus equals column size, and then we have a little loop like that. Is that all okay on your screen and stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking. We're going through the rows and the columns. We're looping through. Cool.
Perfect. So just to test that, we can draw a little rectangle of column size, row size, and then we can give it a stroke. Dot fill none, and then hopefully we can set dot x is x and dot y is y, and we should see like a grid, I think, of
something's off. It doesn't like something.
What did I do?
Fill is not a function.
SVG stroke. Do I need to pass in like a value here? There we go. Cool.
Cool.
Can you see that all right? So you got
Yep.
like a grid
Yeah.
of
All
just
good.
a simple grid. Yeah, so we're starting in the top left and then going all the way across that, all the cells in that row, and then we're just kind of jumping down the canvas and kind of going like that. And yeah, that's it really. So what we want to do now is we want to define a time y variable, which is going to be 0. And in our loop, we're going to set our time x. Sorry, this is I'm going from memory. It's quite hard to remember how you do it. Time x is going to be 0. So we're initializing our start positions for our time, but we're resetting the x time every time we loop back to the first cell in
Because
each row.
got it. Okay, because
Yeah,
that's going to be inside that loop, but not inside both loops. So that needs to.
exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
that makes
So
sense to me.
we're gonna increment our time x in this little bit, and we're gonna increment our time y in this little bit here.
And chat,
So
jump in if you have any questions, chat. I don't think I said that yet,
yeah,
but yeah, if you got any questions.
please do. Yeah. So that's everything we need for the noise stuff so far. And within this, we can say we are just going to generate now one noise value for every single cell. So each cell is going to have a random number between a pseudo random number between -1 and 1. And each cell, its number is going to be similar to all of its surrounding cells, if that makes sense. So all of its neighbors will have a similar value to it.
So it's kind of the thing of like it's going to be off by like 0.1 rather than off by like
Yeah.
30. Okay. Because
Yeah,
of that
exactly. Yeah. So
no, because of the simplex noise, right? That's what we're going to use.
yeah,
Cool.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. So we can actually just say now const noise equals simplex dot noise to d, and we can pass in our time x and our time y. And there
Oh.
we go. So now we're using both to get a single value essentially. We want one noise value that's being determined by both the time position on the x and the time
Oh.
position on the y.
I was wondering
This is
how
quite
we were going to mix these
yeah,
to find one value, and that's how we're doing it. We're doing it
right.
within this. Got
Yeah,
it.
so you pass it both, and it will return that value based on both of these points in time, and that's what will give us those cells with self-similar values, which is really cool. So for a moment, if I just give all of these cells a fill, so they all go to being just a black square essentially, and what we can say is const opacity, say, is, and we're going to map our noise value, which is usually -1 to 1, and we're going to say somewhere between 0 and 1, right? So
Yeah.
for each cell, we're defining that, and then we can use that opacity value for each cell and say that opacity equals opacity, like this. And then hopefully we should start to see a pattern kind of emerging. Right.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
chat. I think you can see that, right? Is the
If I
color because it's subtle, right? But I think based on
I'll
Ben's,
make it less subtle.
it's all good. No, I just there you go. Yeah, they can. I think they can definitely see that.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
but
I can
it's
bring this up to be fair, like 96. So we can do lots now, and we can start to see that each
yeah.
little cell, you see this noise. So it's random, but it's similar to all of its neighbors, which is really cool. I
Yeah,
think.
on both
And
axes
if
too,
yeah,
because of us passing in both these values. It's like
exactly.
if you were to take a sliver, like a horizontal sliver or a vertical sliver,
Yeah,
you would never get to a point where it feels like a jagged, like whoa, all of a sudden it went from white to black. It's all smooth in both
yeah,
directions. That's wild.
yeah. It's really helpful. So you can use this for so much. So right now we're just using that noise value to do opacity, but
Right.
wouldn't it be cool if we did say like a hue? That could be a lot more interesting. So for instead of opacity, we could say const hue equals
Oh.
mapping that noise value to a value between 0 and 360, right? And then we can say, sorry, jump in if you've got any questions or anything.
No, I think Ben, just as you were getting to it, he goes, "How feasible would it be to do color?" And then says, "Once again, George is ahead of me."
It's feasible. So if we pass in that hue, we should see something like that.
That is so freaking cool. And then every time we do it, it would be random, right? So like if I rerun this,
yeah, it should be completely different.
So neat. That feels like
Yeah.
the Predator vision, like
Right, yeah.
the heat vision, but like
Yeah,
very
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
like those
It's
color
quite cool, isn't it?
bands. That is so neat.
Yeah, and I mean that's doing full spectrum hue, but like maybe we just change it to be somewhere between 300 and 360 to get sort of like a analogous kind of palette going on type of thing, or
Yeah, that's
maybe like
cool.
180 and 160 and 360 to keep it to that whatever the name for that one is.
That
But you can
is
sort of
nice.
yeah, a bit more control.
Yeah, I think Leaf just asked a question yeah, so Leaf asks, is SVG still appropriate for this use case, or would Canvas make more sense at this resolution?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, I to be fair, I do often do much more than this in SVG. You'd be surprised how much you can throw at it. So the diffuse prints I did recently have like I think like 300,000 different elements in an SVG, and it renders fine. But
That's
if you wanted
wild.
to animate this, for example, yeah, I would suggest Canvas. Or if you were going to put this on a page, like off-screen Canvas, or Canvas in a worker would probably be nicer because then you're not blocking the thread trying to do lots of computation and whatnot. So for
Right, right.
sure, definitely a great point. Like,
Is there a
yeah,
way to get rid of or like reduce the lines between elements? Because there's like a
yeah,
tiny like half pixel gap. I'm just curious because that would be the only thing
yeah,
stopping me from just going, this is good enough, and shipping it to
yeah.
something. I totally like yeah, it definitely makes sense
We can do that.
what Leaf is saying. But I was just curious if there was like a border radius
Yeah,
that is just on there.
this is because of shape rendering. So
Okay.
when you bunch lots of SVG shapes up like together like this, sometimes you get this funny line, and you can fix it by giving each shape an attribute of like shape rendering crisp edges.
Ooh.
I think might be one word. I can't remember now.
It looks about the
Not
same, but man, I'm loving every
It's the same.
refresh. That color palette's just really nice, but
It's cool.
it's funny because I'm like,
There we go.
now it's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh
yeah.
yeah, that's really neat. And like
Satisfying.
I'm saying, wow, great color palette, George, but you literally just picked half of the rainbow, right? Like
Yeah,
it's uh
yeah,
but it still looks amazing. Like I think part
yeah.
of the beauty of it is here in the HSL you got 75 75. But yeah, you
It's
literally
cool,
just
isn't it?
said, "I'll take half the spectrum, please," and
Yep.
it
Just
looks
give it to
so
me.
cool.
And it's
Oh,
interpolating.
it's
Yeah.
pronounced like life. No, no, no. Thank you, life. I appreciate the correction. I definitely want to try to get everyone's name right. So feel free to correct me if I get it wrong. Life. Thank you. Um,
Awesome.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is
Stuff.
so cool.
Yeah. So from here, I mean, just to show you, if I just make these time values move a lot quicker, we should see it like a lot more chaotic almost
Yeah, now it feels like
in
the game
how
of
it
life or
looks.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so as you move faster, you kind of zoom out, and as you move slower, you kind of zoom in. That's
yeah.
how I like to look at it with this kind of thing. Yeah, so that's a cool thing. And now what you can do here, I'm not sure if I want to do it right now because I think my computer is like on the edge. It's sounding a
Uh-oh.
bit like a plane at the moment. But you can actually have a third value for simplex noise or for noise. So you can pass in a time x, a time y, but then you can pass in like a z value, and you can move that z value very slightly over time, and it will animate the whole gradient. And now I'm saying it, I feel like I probably should try it a
Okay,
little bit.
here's what we're gonna do. My computer can take it. Do you want to close your browser tab? Tell me how to type it in, and we
Yeah,
let my computer. Okay, cool. So shut your
we can
browser
do
tab
that.
so
All
we don't
right.
crash your computer. My computer
Yeah.
will be it will survive.
Okay, cool. Right. So
But I'm
what
closing
we
extra
want to
tabs
do,
just in
this is
case.
going to be
You
fun.
see me mitigating my risk. I'm like, yeah, but we could probably get rid of that. Maybe that too. Let's close out
Let's
everything.
see.
Let's leave that open. All
Let's
right,
see if
cool.
we can do it. So, but this is fun. So first of all, if you go up to how many columns and rows we have, and just
Uh,
reduce that a
yep.
little bit,
Okay. To what?
um, say like maybe 32. Just kind of
Cool.
like
Nice
chill
and
that
half.
out a little. Won't look quite as nice, but hopefully you should see sort of like the roughly the effect.
Still see it. Cool.
Yeah, and then can you make a quick loop, like a game loop or an animation loop, using request animation frame? So
Yeah.
if you make a
Right in
function
here.
draw or something, yeah.
So you want like a for loop?
No, just like a function. If you do function draw or something,
Cool.
yep. And then just open that out. Yeah, and then request animation frame draw. That's it. Yeah,
Cool.
awesome. And then just leave that for now, and then you can sort of self-invoke it in a moment. And then basically from where it says time y, actually first in that function, can you just put svg.clear?
Cool.
Perfect. And then after that, can you copy everything from time y and pop it into that draw function?
Everything. Oh, from here on.
70, yeah, oh, sorry, 23, yeah, all of that stuff. Just
Cool.
grab that
All the way to the end.
and yeah, and pop that in the loop so it starts running on like a loop
Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. Cool.
after the clear. Yeah, perfect. Nice. And then if you have one more, if you come out of that function and just below where it says number of rows, just above that,
Cool.
that's it. Say like let times z equals 0.
Okay.
Lovely. And then where we call simplex.noise 2D, if you change that to noise 3D,
Ooh. Okay.
and then you pass in time z as the third parameter, awesome. And then you increment time z a little bit within just before where you call request animation frame. So like 0.01 or something.
So times z plus equals 0.01,
Yeah,
right?
and then you might want to move that col size and row size above that function because I think it's going to be sad that it's just living below it.
Makes sense.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. And now hopefully if you call that function, it should, I think it should do, oh, yeah, it should do something. Let's see what it does.
All right, chat. If this is
See ya.
goodbye, here we go. Let's see how this.
Here we go.
I I would love if someone is like watching this on YouTube later, and all of a sudden like the video just ends, right? Like just like it just shows like the cards for other recommended videos. That'd be so good. All right, here we go.
That's, I don't know if this is even going to work. It might work. I'm not really
It's
sure.
working.
It works.
Yeah,
Yeah. There we go. And
that's
now it's
really
animating.
satisfying.
Yeah, and you can just chill and like watch this or whatever.
I think I'm gonna
And
do
it's
that for
great.
at least the next few minutes. That's really slick.
And we're still here. So I mean, like, that's a win.
That's yeah. That so like we're kind of doing some of the stuff that we were doing with Liam and shaders, with SVG.
But really slow.
Yeah,
and really and really,
but
really risky.
spending way more, energy and just the least efficient way possible. But this is yeah, and the colors, Ben nailed it. It's like right in a vaporwave kind of like a video. Yeah, the blues and the
Yeah, for
purples and the
sure.
pinks. This is
Totally.
this is really
Totally.
cool. I came out awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
I'm very glad we went for that, because
Oh, me too.
that was a
I'm
payoff.
glad it worked.
I kind of want to like save this over. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what happened. Did I break that or just I think
It might be because I've closed the tab, so I probably need to open it again. I'm just gonna go for it. I think it'll
oh,
be okay.
interesting.
I think it might
I
have kind of
I just
kicked you out.
reran it
So
and it seemed to go fine.
okay,
Oh,
awesome.
this one died too. That's funny. I
Oh, it's
wonder.
actually working fine for me too now as well. It's
It
all good. I
it's
opened it
funny
up after you
because
tested it.
your sound cut out and froze for a second as you said it's working fine for now. I'm like, oh no.
I think it's unrelated. It's because I've got the door shut, and I
It's
think
all
the
good.
Wi-Fi energy can't get in. This is my
Wi-Fi energy,
theory.
yeah.
I don't know whether it's true,
Yeah, the
but
5G
I think
can't.
that's what's
Yeah. That's
the
yeah.
5G can't reach me
Yeah.
when I'm up in here. So
So
I'm
cool.
gonna get rid of that request animation frame anyway, just in
Sounds
case
good.
anything goes wrong.
Big Wi-Fi energy.
And yeah. So yeah, right. Very very small Wi-Fi energy in this room. So we've got a grid of noise values now, and the cool thing about this is we can just use this to do whatever we want, basically, right? Which is super cool. What do we want to do with it? I don't know. What should we do? I've got some
So
ideas.
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna have the ideas. My ideas for this. When you said grid, I'm like, ooh, maybe like they can have like slightly smaller things. Or I would have never gotten to
Yeah.
this in a day. Uh, I've seen some of your stuff where it's like generative landscapes. Chat saying, can we add a listener on click to introduce our own noise? Oh,
Our
so would that be
own.
like the position on the canvas where wherever they click, you get that like XY position and then it clicks, right? Like and then they click and then that becomes maybe the starter for the time or the source for something. Is that kind of
Um, you could do that. I'm not sure what. I'm probably having a hard time visualizing it. So you
Jacob
have
says,
a
"Let me
grid
play
of.
with the lava lamp." He wants to like yeah. I'm not sure if we can make like the source of the click like significant in some way. Like it would be cool if it could be like the peak, or like it could be closer to one in that spot. But I don't think that's how the simplex noise works,
Oh,
right?
oh yeah, that's, I mean, someone much smarter than me might be able to do that, and that's definitely something to like take forward. But if I try and do that right now, I'm going to stare at the code very close to the screen and go very quiet, probably for about half an hour.
Those are my
So
best streams, though. So I mean,
To be honest, I have no idea what I would do with that. There's probably a bunch of really cool things you could do with it. It sounds awesome,
ooh,
but I don't really know.
uh, flexible says make an animated avatar for social. So you recently did a
Yep.
George does code. You recently did an avatar one, right? Or kind
Uh-huh.
of reminds me of like the
Yeah.
old school Slack ones, right? So like CSS Houdini, seedable generative
Yeah.
avatars. Yeah,
Yeah. So you just pass in like a string and you always get like that name, or that string has its own unique kind of avatar that comes
got
back,
it.
and it's all just Paint API is all just done in CSS, so you
So
don't need any like
so it's not that
stutter
it's not that
or we
you
do.
saw this and said, "Oh, that's Frank Ocean." It's that you typed Frank Ocean and that turned it
Yeah.
into this
Yeah.
value. That's cool.
Right. That's it. Yeah, yeah. That is that. And so anytime, which is really cool. Like if you imagine if you're building like a proper app, it's slightly off topic, sorry, but like if you're building like a big app and you had to store, and everyone wanted an avatar, like you this way you wouldn't actually have to really like store any of them anywhere. It's just CSS code that you just throw a string at and it gives you an avatar. It's
Oh
quite
yeah,
cool.
this is CSS. That's wild.
Yeah, it's
That's
just yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
like
mean, it's a worklet, but yeah,
I read that, but yeah, like that didn't even like fully process. Like yeah, you're not even like calling in an image, or you're calling in essentially JavaScript and CSS, and then giving them this, and it's processing it. I actually don't know which
yeah.
would be faster, uh, to just give it
Not
an SVG or to have it process this. But either way,
This
it's
is
super
faster.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because when worklets run, they run on the first paint run that the browser does. Whereas
Okay.
if you did it with SVG, you'd have to wait for all of that to happen and then script it and then update the DOM and blah, 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 blah. So doing it in a worklet's going to be faster.
Wild. Yeah,
Which
it's
is
just
quite
super
cool.
cool.
I think I don't
I
usually say yes, it will or no, it won't, because there's usually there's probably trade-offs on both sides. But generally speaking, I would try and do like user-facing generative stuff. I love the Paint API for it. It's really good for that kind of thing.
got it.
Yeah, like someone mentioned earlier about doing this in Canvas. This would be great to do in a Paint API as well, because worklets they're also multi-threaded, so they do all of their rendering outside of the main thread, and then just kind of throw the image data back to the main thread. So you're never going to slow it down if you do like heavy things like we've been doing today, which is quite cool.
Got it. Super quick. I think your Wi-Fi juice is getting diminished a bit. Like you're
One
cutting
sec.
out. Yeah. I knew he'd have a quick fix thing. So all right.
My quick fix is to open the door.
It's
And hope that
revolutionary. You look amazing, George. You look fantastic. All right. Cool. So yeah, I'm happy to go. I think you had at least one more idea. I would love to
yeah,
follow that down, whatever path
yeah,
you want to
that's
go.
actually my favorite part of all of this is then take abstracting this away a little bit and just kind of using the noise values to render something else. So right now we're just rendering like the actual cells, but like it's kind of cool if you use it to then just pop shapes within the cells. So you've got kind of like a little grid that you can put things in,
Awesome.
um, which is really cool. So we can do to start off. We could start with just like some circles. So we could say let's comment that out for a moment and do svg dot. Oh, that's a little bit capitally. Svg dot circle, and we can say while our color size and our row size is the same at the moment, and we can say cx can be x and dot cy can be y, and hopefully we should see some circles start to appear.
Yeah.
Awesome, nice, and then we can scale those down a little bit because they're a little bit big. Make them a little bit smaller.
Looks good.
Perfect. And then what we can kind of do is we can use noise to scale them all, which could be quite cool. So we could say like const scale is a map of noise, -1, 1, and say like 0.375 and 0.75. And then we can just pass in that scale value to each of the circles, and you should see that they get kind of like a wave almost going on. That's probably a bit subtle.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Maybe we'll do 1, like 0.251.
There we go. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
seeing that.
and then maybe we move a little bit faster
Super,
to sort of get that.
super quick. I
Yeah.
just want to drop this real quick before we end, and we're not like close to ending or anything. I do want to just kind of shout out your kind of how your thing was recreated by Jaffa the Cake. I can't remember his actual name. What's Jaffa the Cake's real name?
Jake.
Jake Archibald
Yeah,
and
yeah,
someone
yeah.
else on their show, and also you're on the Houdini paint thing too. At the end,
Yeah.
let's circle back to that. I just wanted to throw that out there. Chat, don't let us forget.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great episode actually. That's actually a great thing to watch if you want to watch two people that are smarter than me make my work better. it's
But
like
that's so flattering though. Like that they saw your thing
it
and they're
really
like,
is. Yeah.
let's spend an entire episode recreating this. It's super cool.
Oh, it's really really cool. Like they're awesome.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to see. So yeah, I mean we've got some circles and they're kind of like this is actually very Tate. We know we spoke about the Tate Gallery earlier. They used to have this logo that was like loads and loads of little dots.
Got it.
And this is kind of similar to that. But one of the classic things that you can do with noise is you can use it also.
Yeah.
We're doing scale right now, but we could use it to rotate, which can look really really cool. So instead of circles, we could do lines and say like svg dot line and do like x. This is going to get a little bit wordy, but it's fine. We do like x minus col size divided by 2, and we do y minus row size divided by 2. So we're just drawing like a little diagonal line in each cell. Then we do x plus col size divided by 2, and we do y plus row size divided by 2. And we give that a little stroke. and hopefully we start to see something happening. I don't see anything right now.
I see
Okay,
diagonal
yep, that's
lines.
good.
They're
Yeah,
pretty,
that's
yeah,
great.
they're not noisy. Okay,
They're
so
very
just super quick, are these values, the x, y, x, y, are those the corners, or is it the start position and then the width and the height?
the way that I'm kind of reasoning it is like go to the middle of each cell, so like the center point, and then I'm like draw a line like starting up there at the top left corner, yeah, and then draw one to like the bottom right corner. So
Okay.
it's a diagonal line to it from the top left to the bottom right corner of each cell, essentially. If that's cool, if that kind of makes sense.
I will allow it. I like it.
Okay, cool, nice. So what we can do now, which is going to be quite cool, I'm just going to scale them down a little bit because they're quite big. So maybe just like make them a little bit smaller so we can see what's going on a little bit.
Okay.
Nice. That's much. I think that looks much better to me. I might even make it a little bit smaller, say 0.5. But then instead of scaling, we can rotate every line so that its rotation is similar to all of its neighbors' rotation.
Got it.
So we could say rotation is somewhere between
Between 0 and 360, is that
not yet 0 and
cool?
360, and then we can see rotation. I think and we should start to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, so this is like a real nice thing you can do, and you can take, so you can sort of have lots of things plotted on a canvas, and that they can all move kind of relative to each other, which I
Yeah.
think is really, really cool.
And
Yeah,
it once again, so like this simplex noise really feels organic. Like this almost feels like the
yeah,
way that like fur would kind of move across like like I don't know, it just
yeah,
feels realistic or organic.
yeah,
You
totally.
have something similar on your page, don't you?
I do actually. Yeah, I use a
Is
really similar technique to
on your
this.
board? Oh, so it can either be
Yeah,
this or that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or lines. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's just like
totally.
an example of how do you, yeah, and iron filing vibes. Absolutely. Uncomment the
Yeah.
animation.
Oh,
Amit
all right,
says.
all right. It's that's a good idea. To be fair, I think we can. I think we can deal with it. Actually, I'm going to uncomment it just so we can see what happens here. I don't know whether this is going to work. We'll see.
Whoa.
It's kind of stepping really weirdly. I don't know how it looks for you,
Yeah,
but they
it's
should.
definitely not 60 frames per second, but it is something.
Yeah, it's very slow. So I'm going to comment that back out. But
That's cool. It's kind of
if
like,
you were to do that in canvas, they'd all just kind of
yeah.
they'd move really nicely. Actually, if I just make like much less columns and rows, I think they're all still moving on my screen, which is slightly concerning. There we go. Right, so we've got much less now. We've just got 8 by 8. Hopefully, we can deal with this a little bit
Whoa.
better and see how they all kind of move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can imagine if this was rendering at like a good speed, it looks really, really cool. But yeah, that's another thing you can do. You can always just take that Z value and increment that and get like a cool animation going on.
That's really cool.
So if we want to see, yeah, yeah,
Flexible
sorry,
in chat asks, is Simplex related to Perlite Noise or not at all?
yeah, I think as far as I know, it's like it's a more modern version of Perlite Noise, so it's faster and it's got less weirdness, basically, less artifacts. I think you would say if you
Okay.
wanted to be technical about it, but it's very closely related,
Got it.
to the point where I think it's basically the same thing. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so what we've got here is pretty cool, but we could just add a little thing here, a bit of logic to make this into like a little bit of an art piece where we say some of the time draw a line and the rest of the time draw a circle.
Cool.
And where I might usually say if a random number between 0 and 1 is greater than zero point 0.5, draw a line, otherwise draw a circle. What we can actually do here is we can check the noise value and use that to determine what we render. So we could say like
Oh.
if if noise is greater than 0, so like half the time because it's a number between -1 and
Got
1,
it. Yeah.
we draw a line. Otherwise, we do svg dot circle call size dot cx x dot cy y. hopefully this does something. Yep, and then I just want to scale that down quite a bit. See how that goes.
That's cool.
Yeah, mine doesn't look very cool, but
You just got a bad iteration. I mean,
I got a bad
like
one.
I could kind of see what. Oh yeah, and right now I have 99% circles and then like 10 lines.
Yeah, it seems
That's
like a
funny.
lot of the time maybe this noise value is
We're
maybe
probably
it's getting a
too
little
zoomed
freaked out.
in.
Like, yeah, maybe it's too zoomed in. Maybe we could like, oh, now it's just all very much the same. Maybe we can make that a little bit. It's all about tweaking. This is kind of the thing with generative art. Like you're
Yeah.
never gonna get it. Like you'll never get it right on the first one. Yeah, for some reason, it's like a bug in this. No, it's not a bug. Maybe like negative 0.5. Maybe it's just returning values that are quite low. Uh, or quite high. I don't really know, but you should get one like half and half of the time. But I'm not
Yeah,
really
I'm
sure exactly
just
why
getting
that is.
circles.
Super weird, right? Maybe we can adjust these. I'm not really sure why that is. Just got to play around with it.
Huh. Strange.
Yeah, I'm just getting circles still. So if noise is,
Simplex.
I
Oh,
know
because
why.
it's 3D.
So if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
change that to 2D, maybe that will help.
Nice. That's
There we go.
weird.
Right. So
It's got
now we
like a
should start to
furry
see
patch in
something
the
sort of
middle of
more
these
come
dots.
through. I don't know if
That
that's
just
too
looks
obvious for
funny.
you right now.
I'm sorry. Did you
Yeah,
say?
kind of not really working. This is kind of a not the greatest look really, but
All
you
good.
can use it to sort of that's slightly better. You can use it to sort of position things on a canvas as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah. Nice. So
Nice.
Amit was asking about
Oh,
simplex with 4D or more, and Life says I used 4D I think for a 3JS thing, but beyond that I'd see issues with displaying the info.
oh, cool. Sorry,
Physical says
my
that that's
audio cut off a little bit there.
oh yeah.
Mm,
Amit was asking about 4D, so
4D.
I
Oh, I
think
don't know.
all three dimensions and then time is my understanding, unless we're getting into something beyond my reasoning. But yeah, Amit's saying he wants to animate a 3D grid of cubes, so I need the fourth dimension.
Cool. Yeah, I guess. I think that's
Very cool.
probably a thing you can do. I
Oh,
don't do very much 3D, but yeah, I guess that's a thing.
and V Prevails says that this looks like a map. Yeah, it'd be cool to like base off of the simplex noise to make like continents and oceans and stuff like that. Like you could
Yeah,
render a basic map like that. Cool.
I used
Yeah,
this to do some art a while ago. You actually have one of them,
I
one of
do. Let me actually grab that
the
real quick.
prints.
One sec.
Yeah, we because that's really similar to. I'm gonna try and carry a stream on my own. I don't know how well this is gonna go, but yeah, I used this
I
to
don't know.
create.
I don't know how well this is going to photograph with my light setup and everything. I still have it
Yeah,
like dead stock as much as possible, where
nice,
like it's not because I
nice.
haven't had a chance to frame it. But yeah, I've
That's
got one of
cool.
George's. Yeah, that's photographing pretty well.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that looks
love
good.
this
So I
color
use
palette. I love. Yeah, you want to talk about this a little bit?
yeah this exact technique basically here. It's like a
Got
massive
it.
grid of noise values, and there's a lot of other things going on, but everything moves, and it's like the way that the little lines move, their rotation
Oh
gets
yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
set by
Adrian,
those.
for saying that. Yeah, appreciate it. I was looking at
And
this OBS
yeah,
seed. Yeah.
um, so that's it. Yeah, I mean, this is how you can use that same technique to do something that's quite like detailed and looks really natural and organic. I know these kind of gross some people out because I think they look quite close to like little cells or something.
Yeah, but you've
But
got
this
like
is just an example of how you could take this further.
trying to get it like detailed, but not like out of focus.
Yeah, it
So
looks great. Yeah, it looks cool to me.
yeah, the squiggles are great. I love like these.
Yeah,
And that's the Voronoi there, right? And some of them are
right.
hollow.
Yeah. So it's a Voronoi diagram in combination with 2D noise grids to create these kind of patterns. I've got to write about it at some point, but I haven't got around to it just yet.
It's so cool. Yeah, I absolutely
Yeah,
love it. So happy it got here
cool.
in perfect condition, and yeah, plan on
Nice.
plan on hanging it up very soon.
Awesome.
V Prevail says math scares me and is kind of keeping me from trying these things out myself. Any tips on small tutorials that don't feel too math heavy to try out one's own, to try out on one's own?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, if I'm honest, I'm not very good at maths. I basically failed maths at school, and I'm not. So you're in. A lot of people feel the same way, and I'm very similar to you. Like it kind of freaks me out as well. But it's one of those things where once you start using it, you just kind of pick up little bits and bobs, and some of it just becomes muscle memory. And it's this thing where it's important to remember that it's okay just to use something if you don't understand all of the maths behind what's making it happen, because like we're making art, we're not like publishing research papers or something, so it's okay just to get stuck in and use things and not worry about it too much. But that being said, the coding train is a really good place to
That's what
start.
Life just said in chat. Yeah, he
Yeah,
said the coding train.
that's where I got started. So I learned to code watching the coding train, watching Dan Schiffman. He's great. And yeah, I mean, I would get started there if you're looking for somewhere. And I have some sort of friendly tutorials on my site as well. I usually try and stay clear of really talking about much maths.
Sorry, I opened up YouTube to get that link, and all of a sudden his video started going off. Did not mean to interrupt.
Oh yeah, and it's very intense. Yeah, yeah, I've got some like quite approachable tutorials, and you can check out Coding Train, and then just kind of make stuff. I think that's the best way. Just make things and show people and release them, and don't worry. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
You sent me one last one before the end of it. We were talking about the color palette thing. Do you want to hop to that before we?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a good one to look
so
at.
Still got a little bit more chat. We're not gonna go all day, but yeah. As I said at the beginning, one of my favorite things about George's work is his color palettes. Like honestly, like whenever I need some color advice, I go to George. He's my everyone's got to have a color guy. George is my color guy.
That's a great position to have.
Honestly, when you buy a house, you need like a contractor. Like everyone who owns a house needs a handyman. Anyone who does stuff on the web needs a color person. Like you just need someone to go for, hey, my colors are broken. Can you help me out? And that's George for me.
Nice.
Cool. So what are we gonna do here?
Oh yeah. Could you just, if you pop on my code pen, just for a moment. There should be, if you go to
all pens?
public, all pens, sorry,
cool.
maybe.
Yeah.
And then just, oh god, I make so many, you might have to skip through a little bit.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, yeah, so that top right one. So this is using noise again, but in combination with a Voronoi diagram to position lots of elements in a way that sort of feels organic and natural. And then I'm using a noise grid to determine how all of these lines are rotated. This is kind of like what we were working on to sort of look like, but it takes quite a lot of tweaking to kind of get to that point.
For sure.
Yeah, like this is only a few lines of code, maybe 30 lines of code or something, maybe a bit more, but the tricky part is like really tweaking with this kind of thing. It's a bit like animation, right? Like the first bit of animation takes a few minutes, but then it's days of getting it dialed in just right. And that's kind of what it doesn't have to be days, but it's like an hour or something, just playing with it, getting it just right. But yeah, like I just wanted to show this as an example of what you could do with noise, but also as a really quick tip for anyone who's kind of already into generative art and already making their own things. I love this technique of taking a background color. So I have like a purple here, and then getting a really dark shade of that background color and using that to fill some of the content of my piece. And what it does is it gives the piece like really good breathing room, but also fills it in and gives your eyes something to look at. And I just like, it's like a really quick tip that I sort of we chatted about earlier, and I thought it's a really good one to share if anyone wanted a little tiny generative color tip sort of thing.
Yeah, and it allows it to not be so overwhelming. Like if this was all yellow or all like if it was too much yellow and too much red, it would just be a bit much, but because of all those
Yeah.
dark spots, it kind of it makes each yellow piece kind of stand out a bit more. And then
Yeah.
yeah, the other purple, yeah, it's so good.
A little tip. Just if yeah, for when everyone's working on things, sometimes little things like that can make a really big difference, and it's quite good to remember. So I just wanted to show everyone that little thing.
Yeah, it's got Starry Night vibes a bit, not in the color palette, but
Yeah,
in that flow, right? Like in those kinds of
yeah,
other things. And Life says that's actually a very good theoretical approach. I always use random images and got palettes from them or sampled.
that's a great thing to do. I do that all the time. I'll often I've got loads of pictures on my phone, or I go out and take pictures around the nature reserve and stuff by my house, and then I use that to pull out the colors and then kind of generate palettes based on that, and I'll tweak them in Figma or whatever. That's a good place to
You've
get
got a nature
started.
reserve right by your house.
Yeah,
Your little town sound. It's just I'm so jealous. Is it Brighton? Is that
it's no, it's
no?
I live
What's
outside of it. It's
okay?
I live
But
in Lewis.
you're near.
Yeah,
So you're around Cassie, right?
yeah, just down the road.
Around Cassie
Yeah.
Evans, and they have like the bay, and it just seems like this creative, wonderful place tucked away in the
It
south of
is
England.
good. We've got a nice crew down this way. There's a really good generative sort of group of people around here, which is really nice.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, having that kind of like that kind of community in meat space, right? Like in the physical world is so
Yeah.
nice. Like we're kind of creating this here, but that's gotta be so cool to just be able to sync up with people when there's not a pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So can we kind of just talk through this real quick?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So to create this, I've got two functions in my generative utilities library. And one of them is create Voronoi Tessellation,
Okay.
which just allows you to create a really quick Voronoi diagram. And I've got a tutorial, a big tutorial on that on my site. So if you want to get into detail with it, I think we looked at it earlier, but you can just check that out and
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
that's
this
it.
one, right?
And yeah, you can learn how to do all of this. You can learn how to do that exact pattern just in this tutorial. It's all there. I don't believe in like keeping anything secret, so I share everything that I learn.
I mean,
So
if you did, you're screwing up. You know we're live, right?
yeah. No, I should just be keeping all of this to myself and making NFTs or something, right?
That's
um,
exactly what Flakes just said in chat. Did you see that?
no.
No,
Oh
Flakes just said,
yeah,
"Get
yeah.
rich quick with this as NFTs." Haha, just kidding. It's art first.
Oh no. Yeah, art first and sharing it with everyone I think is
Yeah.
just what I'm here for. So I've got a couple of functions anyway. I've got this Voronoi Tessellation one and I've got create noise grid, which is just a quick little helper function that does what we've done today, but so you don't have to write out all that code every single time. And so first of all, I'm creating the grid. Should just be down there at the
Yep,
top.
grid right here. Create noise grid. So that's
Yep,
your function, right? Yep.
that's my function. Yeah, and that's all just the same as what we were doing earlier, but just
Got
wrapped
it.
up into a little tiny package.
Nice.
And then yeah, and then I'm creating a Voronoi diagram, and I'm using that Voronoi diagram to position lots of lines on the canvas. Oh sorry, Voronoi tessellation, Voronoi diagram is just below where I define those
So
points.
just real quick, not to get into it too deep, but is the tessellation is kind of like the way that these spots are positioned and like the way the different sizes of that kind of happen, right?
Yeah,
Let's
you see
see.
it
Here's
happen a
the
lot in
interactive
nature.
example. So it's like it kind of builds out like a grid, sort of like this ish.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it. And so every polygon on the canvas contains one of the points. That's like the logic behind the Voronoi tessellation.
Got it.
Um, and yeah, so I'm kind of doing that. I'm creating that, and then I'm using all of those little cells to pop lines in. And then what the really cool thing about my special little create 2D noise grid function is that you can say, "Hey, get me the noise value at this point in space." So you can use noise values in a way that's not fixed to a grid, but you can just grab those noise values for something that's positioned anywhere on the canvas, which is kind of what we spoke about a little bit earlier. But it's really powerful because you can you're not constrained to a grid, but you can still use those self-similar values, which is cool.
So we're grabbing points and using them for what? Sorry, I'm not following that bit.
Okay, so we're putting all our lines on the canvas, and they
Okay.
exist outside of the grid itself. So we haven't positioned these inside a grid like we did earlier in the stream. You know how we
Right.
positioned everything in the center of each cell.
Right. The way that this is, where there's
Yeah,
just
so that's very very rigid, isn't it? Like when
right
you look at it, it's
where
very
this
like
doesn't
it's very
feel like a
harsh.
grid at all.
Yeah, it's because it's well, it's on a Voronoi diagram, but it could just be randomly positioned. So everything is living on the canvas, and then for each of these elements, I'm looking up. I'm doing like a lookup on that grid, and I'm saying at this point, what's the noise value, and then I'm using that to kind of rotate everything that lives on the canvas. So the grid, you can imagine it's
Oh.
superimposed really big on the whole canvas, and I'm just kind of grabbing it and looking up that thing for all of the objects, which is really a good technique.
And then with that value, you are placing them, or what are you doing with that value? So the noise
I'm
value,
rotating them
that's the
with that
rotation.
value.
Got it.
That's the
So
rotation. The placement is independent.
got it. And the size and the colors, are those also independent?
Yep, they're all independent. The only thing I'm using the noise grid for here is just rotation.
Got it. So if we pull this bit off,
Yeah, they should all just be like I think they're I don't know what it'll look like.
so they're all going the
Yeah,
same
they will just
direction.
go
Got it.
fine. It looks cool. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
still really cool.
yeah,
So yeah,
it's cool.
your random. So the color is a random value from this array. Oh, and they're
Yeah.
all equal. I didn't expect them to all be equal in their weight. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like it, but that's once again because of the dark and the
it's because of
slightly
those.
lighter purple. You've got like two purples in there on the purple background, and so it
Yeah,
makes it feel like the there's
it's
a
kind of weighted.
difference in priority or whatever. Um,
Yeah, definitely. I've never noticed that, but I think it's this is why it's so nice to look back on things with someone else sometimes because that's not something that I didn't necessarily think that at the time, but that's definitely kind of the effect that you're trying to achieve. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so the noise here. So they're getting placed based on the Voronoi diagram. So basically, that like they're
That's it.
is it relaxed or is it
It's pretty relaxed.
cool?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I can't remember now.
all good. Yeah, not trying to drill you on it. Max iterations. Oh yeah, so it's pretty evened out because
Yeah, pretty evened out. Yeah.
yeah, so that just kind of makes it feel a bit more regular. Not like this one where it's not even at
Yeah,
all, right?
that one's very just kind of yeah.
Right. Yeah, some very big ones, some very small ones. So these are all pretty
Yeah.
even. And
Yeah.
then yeah, the noise comes in there for the rotation, and it creates that like sweeping kind of
Exactly.
path thing if it
Yeah.
runs.
Yeah, I don't know. Copen
Yeah,
sometimes needs a little push along the way, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, that's
There we go.
so cool. Just throwing some
Cool.
noise in there
Yeah.
changes the entire feel of it.
Mm.
That's wild, George. I love it. Sign and cosine
Cool.
gang.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on, or
This was kind of like where I wanted to reach with it and just kind
awesome?
of show folks this is like this you can take this and then, do these things with it. And yeah, I think we've kind of covered we've really gone through the basics of noise. And I think we should have all that we need to take that forward and make some more art. There's a good video on Coding Train if you want to watch a little bit more about noise. I definitely recommend that
Yeah, and you
as
can
well.
pop it,
Yeah.
that stuff into the Discord. Anyone, the Nightbot, the Nightbot makes it sound like it's like a defender of justice that's keep watching out for us at night. The Nightbot just linked to the chat. So if you're not there already, I know pretty much most people that I'm seeing in chat are. But yeah,
Nice.
happy to have these discussions and continue to ask questions and stuff in the Discord. But before we
Nice.
go, I do want to, as promised, what was the show that Jake and the other person were on when they were discussing your stuff?
It's it's called HTTP 203, I think.
203.
It's really good show on YouTube.
Let's type
I think
in
it's 203.
scheduling tasks, writing good alt text. So let's see. Jake,
Cool.
so it's going to be in here somewhere. Let me.
Okay.
Yeah, Jake and Sama. They
These
are.
Chrome developers who might have
You can now load
trouble
CSS.
finding the exact
I think there's
one.
quite a few videos on there. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably, but it was like a couple weeks ago. I don't think they post that much.
Yeah,
Deno, 3 ways to solve switches, dev tools, season 8 trailer memory leaks, performance. Is it CSS? Would that be it?
Maybe
Paint?
Yeah, maybe paint.
Random paint effects. That would be it, right?
There it is.
Whatever.
Yeah,
that's what I
the
went
one.
for.
Yeah,
So yeah, not
video.
count.
Yeah, this is a really good video.
Yeah.
I
So,
definitely
y'all,
recommend it.
Jake Archibald and do you know the other person's name? They're also and Surma, right? They talk about these paint effects, and it was completely based on George's fantastic, like gorgeous worklet. Is that the right term? It's a worklet.
Yeah, it's a worklet. Yeah.
Just so cool that Jake and Surma. Thank you, Life. Yeah, so cool that they saw that and devoted an entire episode to like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's super cool. Jake does some really cool paint API stuff. I learned a lot of like things about seeding and stuff from his writing.
Awesome. CSS Houdini.now or something. What's the name of the site that your thing is on now?
It's Houdini.how, I think.
Houdini.
I don't know why I'm
I was
looking
so
over there.
close.
It's not over there.
Houdini rocks.
If you just type in the address bar Houdini.how, I think. Maybe a slightly risky.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and your paint flashes are here, so people can come here. If they don't want to go to the CodePen.
It's on CodePen and stuff too.
Yeah. I think the CodePen
it's good
one
to go there.
Probably like shows off the best stuff. So
there's quite a few different colors. Yeah, there's quite a lot on here.
Like seriously, your color palettes are just fantastic.
Thank you. We should get to it.
You have so many demos, man. CSS
I need to
Houdini,
organize
there it
this.
is.
There it is.
Yeah, so if you want to see these awesome paint flecks, this is all coming from the CSS Houdini worklet, and they're just gorgeous. And then it's also up on this site. I don't think I can link to it. Oh, I can link to that specifically, and you can go in and they provide like a nice little API or not API, like
really nice.
a GUI to let you tweak it, and it's just so cool. Change the fleck colors and all that stuff. Flex seed, which just changes the randomized start of it. So cool, George. Congrats on I just love seeing people appreciate your stuff because it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool just to see generative stuff like popping up in like web dev world more. I think that I always find that really exciting when folks that usually do more web dev stuff start getting into more like generative stuff. I think that's really, really cool. And people always have really like different ideas if you come from like a different background, like more of a kind of like a software background or whatever. It's just really cool seeing what people bring and make with these tutorials and demos and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of use cases, like even just your slight little touches of like just a little bit of randomization.
Yeah,
these shapes just shifting around a little bit and changing colors.
Tiny.
Right? It's small, but it's just a bit of delight.
It's it's like if you're walking. I always think like if you're walking through the forest or whatever, it's gonna look different. How you see it's going to look different to the person who's walking 10 minutes behind you, and it's kind of making websites a bit more like the natural world in that way. Like it's always going to hopefully look nice, but everyone's experience is like that little bit different, and it just makes it a bit more organic, which I think is cool.
Well, that is a sentiment that I think we can end on. That's delightful, George. Yeah, right?
Nice.
The Prevail says it exactly. That's flippin' delightful, and I can't handle it. I don't think any of us can. I think we've got to call it there. But George,
I'm out.
Yeah. With the audience in tears, we're gonna end it there. But George, it is always so good to have you on. You're coming on tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Is that no?
Yep.
we gotta have you back after your next blog post or whenever you have something else that you want to show us. You are always welcome here. I think the chat. I think I speak for the chat, and I do. When I say that you're always welcome here. We would always love to have you back on. Chat, give George some confetti, some love, all of that. So thank you so much, George. Yeah, and so just real quick before you go, I've been dropping your links, but I just want to make sure if they want to check you out, georgefrancis.dev. And also your Twitter and your GitHub and your CodePen are all linked there. So go check out George's site, sign up for the newsletter, right? And you'll get the issues delivered. He's not up for spamming you.
I've never delivered one, but
okay, never mind. He's definitely not going to spam you. No spam.
Yeah, definitely.
Guaranteed. Your email will be thrown in the bin. Don't worry about it. It's but yeah, so next week, chat. Next week I am off. So I'm on vacation. So George is taking over. I'm giving George the keys to my house, and he's gonna come in here and he's gonna do stuff now. So no shows next week, but the week after, real quick, I don't wanna not plug those because I don't want you to forget about me. I'm scared that you're gonna forget about me. Oh, I need to update the site. So the week after, September 28th, we have James Quick coming on. We're gonna make a cool kind of like roll our own Substack is the idea, where it's like you've got your private blog post, so you have like a protected Prismic thing that where Auth0 is gonna unlock it through Next.js. It's gonna be super fun. Bizarro is a fantastic designer who works at Active Theory, phenomenal agency who makes like just incredible stuff. They're coming on for Component Carousel. Super excited for that. Andy Bell, the magnificent Andy Bell, is coming on. See, George's face lit up.
Nice.
Oh my gosh,
Love Andy.
Thank you. I'm pointing to stuff and no one can see it. I'm seeing it. Look at this. Okay, so once again, James Quick, Luis, and Andy are all coming on. I didn't put it up yet, but this Friday, October 1st, we're also going to have Cassie Evans, who lives right near George. You have to hang out with George all the time.
Yeah.
It makes me
whole
furious. Cassie Evans will be on to answer your green sock questions. So drop any green sock questions you have in the Front End Horse animation Discord chat. If you have like a code pen where you're like, how does this work? Like, I see that it works, but I don't get how it works. We'll go through it. Cassie will be on to bring some delight and just have a good time. So yeah, we've got great stuff planned. And then, the next week, we got a whole lot of stuff. I still got to put some other stuff up. Cassie's coming on again. We already got booked twice. It's so much stuff. Amit is booked. Amit in the chat is booked to come on. Like, just so many good people. So if you're not following, follow, and don't forget about me. No, it's kidding. No, I will see you in a week or two, right? So take care. Hang in there because we're going to go raid somebody else, George. Thank you again.
All right.
Thank you again. You are Amit, right? I haven't entered your date yet, but I'm pretty sure you're booked. I'm almost positive. I think you're just playing. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy.